Hello, this is a guide on beating the Iskal Queen in Remnant from the Ashes. The Iskal Queen is what most consider to be the true final boss of the game, due to her immense difficulty and somewhat hidden location in the swamps of Corsus. She is a complex and difficult fight, often serving as a bit of a reality check to players who haven't faced much opposition thus far. The Iskal Queen has a 1 in 4 chance of appearing in a Corsus adventure, sharing a slot with other event dungeons, such as Circlet Hatchery. This guide will be done on a character with 150 trait points and gear score 20 on Apocalypse. This boss is generally fought well after the end of your first campaign, and usually after the player finishes Subject 2923, so it's expected that the player have a high trait level. And as always, gear score 20 is the most difficult possible iteration of this boss. The Iskal Queen will always open the fight by sending a swarm of beetles to attack you. They deal significant corrosive damage, and their great numbers mean you can be overwhelmed very quickly. I recommend using a mod of some sort to help clear them out, whether it be a summon like Iron Sentinel, or an area of effect like Frozen Mist. She will then send more waves of them intermittently throughout the fight. If you manage to automate the process of destroying the beetles, this is a great time to get a lot of damage on the Queen. The rest of the Queen's attacks can come in basically any order. One of them is to raise her staff in the air and plunge it into the floor, causing a wide shockwave down the middle of the arena. You need to be ready to notice this when it happens, and run away from the center. Try to avoid rolling until right before the floor explodes, because you are much more likely to get caught if you start panic rolling immediately. The Queen can also raise her left hand to summon a beetle directly onto your character. It will remain there until she snaps to detonate it, causing a very loud chirp right before it explodes. All you have to do is roll or backstep once you hear the chirp in order to escape all damage. It's a test of reactions and nerves, and if you roll at the wrong time, you'll take a lot of corrosive damage. She will always detonate the beetle as her next attack the first time she summons it, but as the fight continues, she can wait to trigger the explosion for a great deal of time. At some point, the Iskal Queen's wings will begin to glow a bright blue. This means that she is ready to cast 2 extremely powerful tides of damage across either side of the arena. When the time comes for her to unleash it, there is no time for you to react, so you need to be staying towards the center of the arena as long as her wings are glowing. Like the exploding beetle, she can have this attack primed for quite some time, so just be ready for it when it comes. Often, the Queen will spew large volleys of corrosive projectiles into the air, which will splat onto the floor right on top of you if you don't get out of the way. They will linger on the floor for some time afterwards, dealing ticks of corrosive damage to anyone who steps on them. The projectiles can be dodged very easily by running out of the way, but you need to be careful where you lead them. The pools of corrosion can take up large sections of the arena, making it hard to avoid the wave attacks at the sides of the arena, or forcing one of your teammates to run through the puddles to make space for you. For all of this part of the fight, the Queen has no weak spot, and is rather heavily armored. Her head is the only unarmored part of her body while she stands by the throne, so aim for it to do the most damage as possible. Once you've taken off around a third of the Iskal Queen's health, she will release a gas to incapacitate the player and flutter off her throne to approach. During this time, the player can't do anything but shoot her, preferably in the head. If she takes enough damage, she will be knocked down for a short time, but if not, she will grab and execute the player. If for some reason you can't do enough damage to stun her, you can get away from her by swinging your melee weapon. After taking a momentary break to recover, the Iskal Queen will get back up and brandish a massive scythe. Thus begins phase 2 of the fight. Often this will begin with her 3-hit combo: a spin slash, a throw, and a jump slash. This is generally quite well telegraphed and easy to dodge, but don't ever try to backstep the scythe throw, as it's going to end up hitting you at least once. And if you don't want to have to dodge the 3rd hit, rolling around her side to get behind her prevents her from doing it. Much like her attack from the first phase, the Iskal Queen can thrust her scythe into the ground and cause a wide shockwave in the direction of the player. Just like before, try not to roll too soon before the blast, as it can be easy to get caught if you panic. The Queen also has a very powerful jumping slam that causes a massive area of effect in a circle around her. Although the windup is very long and well telegraphed, the sudden movement might cause you to roll, getting caught for massive damage. She'll announce this attack by shouting abuses at the player before leaping into the air, so if you know to watch for it, you should be safe from this attack. On occasion, she will swing her scythe and cast 2 crescent projectiles towards the player. Not too much to comment about, as they are not very fast, but it should be noted that they come faster than a heavy roll can recover. So you'll have to read the attack a little earlier if you're wearing a tankier set, and dodge accordingly. The Iskal Queen's most challenging attack comes after she assumes a low stance. Pay attention to how she holds her scythe in her hands. If she holds it like this, she will rush at the player for considerable damage. If she holds it like this, she will instead throw it, run up to catch it, and rapidly twirl the scythe around. The rush attack is quite delayed, and can be very difficult to dodge. If you're not able to learn the timing, you can still spot out when she's ready to go by a small movement in her arm. She also grunts during the attack, and does so soon enough for you to hear it and react accordingly. If the queen does the throw attack, all you really need to do is run out of the way. It can only catch you if you try dodging it as if it were the rush. The queen also has a rush attack done from standstill rather than stance that's often used as a follow-up to another attack. It comes very fast, so you'll need to be ready to dodge it when she so much as looks at you. Sometimes, the queen will flutter in the air for a short time, and upon landing, will do one of 4 things. Do nothing, cast the crescent projectiles, slash diagonally, or enter stance. It can be very difficult to know whether or not the cast or the slash is coming, so you need to pay close attention. Usually, the cast will only be done at long range, and the slash up close, but sometimes you can be in the perfect spot for either. It can be very easy to get caught by the slash, so if you aren't able to consistently dodge it, try maintaining more distance between you and the queen to prevent it from being used at all. If you find yourself behind the Iskal Queen, she has 2 different turnaround attacks to surprise you. One is a diagonal slash, and the other is horizontal. The diagonal slash has a much more obvious telegraph, but is also more delayed, so there's a good chance you will be roll caught if you notice it early and dodge immediately. The horizontal slash, on the other hand, can be much more difficult to read, and can be mistaken for a more basic reposition to look at the player. If you're getting caught by these attacks, stand farther away from her backside. And finally, the Iskal Queen will sometimes enter a flying phase for a short time. While in the air, she only has 2 attacks, the crescent projectiles and a phantom sweep. The projectiles are easy to dodge, but the sweep might take more practice. It is quite delayed and deals considerable damage, so take great caution. When she gets tired of flying, she'll ready a powerful scythe throw it, and then slam to the ground on top of it. This is most easily dodged by just running away. If you so choose, the Iskal Queen can also be killed by dropping one of the stalactites from the ceiling directly on top of her at the right time. If she is stunned during the gas phase, the dropped rock will kill her instantly, skipping the entirety of phase 2 and dropping the material to make the Seeker mod. However, your positioning needs to be nearly perfect. The queen must approach a player standing here, and needs to be knocked down around to the middle of the large puddle. Since this guide has gone on long enough, I'll keep the gear recommendations short. For weapons, anything besides a shotgun should work very well. Your only concern should be being able to hit the head consistently, and if your weapon can do that, then it will function just fine. I'll shout out the Hive Cannon in particular, because one shot of its mod can last long enough to block every beetle in a single swarm, while still allowing the player to stand inside the cloud for perfect coverage. Plus, the Hive Cannon inflicts corrosion very easily, and for a fight this long, that 25% damage can go a long way. As for armor, again, use your best judgment. Anything that can consistently leverage its set bonus is good to go, including, but not limited to, Hunter, Slayer, Labyrinth, Void, and Carapace sets. For trinkets, there are a few that are particularly useful in this fight. First of them being Ring of Evasion, as it provides a massive 44% increase to rolling iframes, making the second phase considerably more forgiving. Helpful too is the Twisted Idol, giving a noticeable boost to tankiness and reducing most heavy sets weight enough to give a medium roll. The last I'll mention is the Burden of the Gambler, but only for the first phase. It provides a solid damage buff due to her lack of a weak spot, and if you're fast, you can swap to something like Hunter's Band during the gap between phase 1 and 2. If you can't pull this swap off, I really don't recommend using this ring. Oh, right, and mods. The queen has a mild weakness to fire, making Hotshot a better candidate than it already is, with a solid 26% increase to overall weapon damage while it's active. If you're having trouble staying alive, focusing on debuffs and damage over time might be a good choice for you, to focus on her attacks to dodge more effectively. If you just need a breather, Flicker Cloak or Mantle of Thorns might offer just enough reprieve for you to get a heal or use an ammo box. Honestly, just like with anything else, use your best judgment. Alright, that was a lot. There's a lot to learn in this boss fight, and that's why it's hard. If you're still having trouble, that's kind of normal. Just keep at it, don't give up, and have some fun. You're fighting the best boss in the game, after all. Hopefully, you were able to find some useful info in this guide, and if you still have questions, leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. Thanks for watching, and have a lovely day.